Hi everyone and welcome to this new video where we're going to talk about how musicians develop great ear training skills despite practicing intervals. As you've probably seen by watching other videos included in this channel, I'm not a fan of interval exercises. Quite the contrary, indeed. I think there's a lot of evidence, both on a practical and scientific level, that interval exercises are not an effective way to improve your ear training skills. There's one specific video where I show all the scientific studies that explain why intervals exercises are ineffective and why the interval method is ineffective, and where I also explain how to practice ear training instead. You will find a link to that video up here or in the description section below, and I suggest you watch it so you will have a better idea on what I'm talking about in this current video. So that being said, there's a question that you might have, which is why, if the interval method is ineffective, why musicians improve by practicing interval exercises, or at least seem to improve by following the interval method. Basically, given the scientific evidence that I show in other videos, and also given the fact that I've personally trained hundreds of musicians on developing great relative pitch skills, and I've come across a lot of musicians who practiced interval exercises but didn't develop any useful skill in return, I'm quite confident in saying that the improvement you see in those musicians that practice interval-based exercises are due to other activities and other exercises they practice that might even not be related to ear training in specific. Indeed, to make it simple, it's really obvious for every one of us that, generally speaking, musicians practice a lot of different topics related to their musicianship, related to their instrumental technique, related to their ear training skills, related to their music theory knowledge, etc. And they also listen to a ton of music. They sing along with music, they play along with music, they do all sorts of activities that require and involve, like even indirectly, ear training skills. So just the simple activity to sing along to a song involves ear training skills. And I'm not saying that just singing along to your favorite songs is enough to develop a great musical ear. That's not at all what I'm saying. Developing a great musical ear, it's much more complex than that. But in some cases, and I'll be more specific later on, these little activities summed up, like singing along to songs, like improvising melodies over backing tracks, like jamming with other musicians, playing along with songs, etc., can be responsible for a great improvement in your relative pitch skills. The point I want to come across right now is that interval-based exercises are not usually what is helping people improve in ear training. Even though some musicians practice interval exercises, that doesn't mean that that's what is allowing them to improve, because they are doing a ton of other activities, a ton of other exercises on all sorts of level and in all sorts of areas related to music. So this is the first point that's important to understand. And what's interesting here is that the kind of activities that I was talking about before, so singing along with songs, playing along with songs, jamming with other musicians, improvising with other musicians, etc., these kinds of activities alone, in some cases, can be responsible for a great development of relative pitch skills. And I want to expand a bit more on that. Why this happens? This simply happens because our relative pitch skills are strictly related to our ability to perceive the tonality and the tonal context and the sensation that notes and chords assume inside this tonal context. So this is how relative pitch skills develop. And what I'm saying is that singing along with songs and just performing activities in real musical contexts can, in some cases, make people develop like a good internalization of the tonal context, a good internalization of the sensations of notes and chords, so that they can recognize notes and chords by ear after they have been exposed to these kind of activities for a long time. And there are some other facts that really prove that these kinds of improvement that we see are mostly related to musical activities that are not related to the interval-based exercises. One of these proofs is that if you go out and test musicians who are very good at your training, musicians that can recognize melodies and chords on the spot, if you test them, you will see that they accomplish those tasks without thinking of intervals. It's not an interval-based way of thinking. Their approach is not interval-based, at least most of the time. For most notes and most chords, they don't think of intervals when recognizing them. They can think of intervals very sporadically when there might be some key changes or some unusual chords or notes that are being played. But for close to 100% of the time, they are thinking in a way that does not take intervals into account at all. They are perceiving notes and chords on a sensation-based level, and they know what notes they are and what chords they are without thinking of the interval between the notes and things like that. And I'm sure that you can go out, you probably have a few friends that are great at your training that have these skills. You can go out and test them and you will see what I'm saying. Another proof to the fact that intervals are not really responsible for the improvements in your training skills is that a lot of good musicians that have a great musical ear, say that the interval method is not a good approach. And there are also ear training teachers in multiple conservatories that say the same thing. And I was just talking to an ear training teacher in a Colombian conservatory about that. And he was complaining about the fact that most of his colleagues in the conservatory were adopting the interval approach to teach their students ear training. And he was saying that he understands that that's not a good approach. And he was using a different approach, a tonal approach. That's what we suggest. And his argument was basically what I'm saying right now, that intervals are not a good way, are not a good approach to improve your relative pitch skills. And again, there's also a ton of scientific evidence that proves this point. If you don't believe me, just go in the description section of this video. You will find a link to the video where we show all the scientific studies related to this topic. Okay, lastly, before finishing this discussion, I want to answer another question that you might have, which is, well, then if people develop great relative pitch skills just by singing and playing along with songs, how is it possible that, a lot of people that just do that don't improve? And that's totally true. Some people develop these skills just by being exposed to music and doing these activities, and other people don't. So I want to briefly explain why this happens. This happens because there's another variable at play. The variable is the way in which you process and experience the musical information. What I'm saying is that there are some people who are, generally speaking, more intuitive, who are more focused toward sensations and feelings. And so when they listen to music, they tend to focus mostly on those aspects. And by doing these activities like singing, etc., their way of focusing and approaching music helps them to internalize these sensations and these feelings they experience, because they tend to focus primarily on them. So these kind of people are more likely to kind of naturally develop at least a basic level of relative pitch skills. So that doesn't mean that if you are a more intuitive person, you will surely develop them just by singing or playing along to songs. It means that it's more likely, okay? That's what I'm saying. There's no certainty when it comes to just develop these skills naturally without help. And that also doesn't mean that you won't have any issues in developing these skills further. You might encounter some limits and some kind of wall that holds you back, even though you are a more intuitive person. So of course there are multiple factors to take into account, and by any stretch of the imagination I can tell you, if you're an intuitive person, you will develop relative pitch skills without any problems. That's not true, and that's not going to happen. But certainly these kinds of people are more likely to develop relative pitch skills naturally and by singing along and playing along to songs. On the contrary, if you are a more logical and rational person, you will tend to focus on sensations and feelings a little less often and a little differently than how a more intuitive person will do. So this will make it like less likely for you to develop these skills, to develop relative pitch skills without like a proper training in place. What's important to understand is that no matter which kind of tendency you have, no matter whether you are a more rational or a more intuitive person, there is no human being who is either 100% logical or 100% intuitive. So what I'm saying is that all of us have a rational side, a logical side, and an intuitive side. And with that said, you can absolutely train yourself to focus and perceive music on a more intuitive level, and so that you can develop more intuitive relative pitch skills and you can avoid the rational and logical thinking that's not helping you to develop these skills. That's what I'm saying. So, and you can stay sure this is the absolute truth. No matter if you're more of a logical person, you can train your intuitive side to be at the same level to the one of a naturally intuitive person. So don't get discouraged about that. If you're more of a logical person, that's not at all a concern that you should have. And to expand a little further on that, my case is a very good example because I'm a very logical and rational person, and so I didn't naturally experience music in the way I should have done in order to develop relative pitch skills. And this indeed translated to a total inability initially to recognize melodies and chords by ear and to really even perform basic ear training tasks such as singing a major scale or matching pitch with my voice. So what I did was practicing intervals, and I practiced intervals for 10 years. 10 years, and I didn't get any noticeable improvement in return. That's because my approach toward music was still wrong. I wasn't adopting an intuitive approach. I wasn't focusing on sensations and feelings, etc. I was still using more of my rational and logical thinking instead of my intuitive and sensation-based thinking. And as soon as I started to shift this approach and I started to focus more on sensations and feelings, and I started to take into account the tonality, etc., and I started to perceive resolution, tension, and things like that, things changed immediately. And I started to understand music, and I started to being able to recognize melodies and chords, etc. And this exact thing happened exactly the same to hundreds, if not thousands of musicians that I have been the pleasure to help in developing their ear training skills. And that's the exact goal of the approach that I've developed, which is called the Use Your Ear method. The Use Your Ear method is a step-by-step method that allows you to develop an advanced level of perception and awareness of musical pitch so that you can recognize notes and chords and improvise melodic or harmonic ideas on a really intuitive level. This means that you can do it fast and effortlessly and without involving your rational thinking. Our method is designed in a way that works for everybody. So no matter your current level, no matter if you're more of a logical, rational person than an intuitive person, no matter anything else. We've already helped thousands of musicians in the latest 4 to 5 years. You can check out all the reviews and their comments on our website. You will find a link to it in the description section below. You can also see their improvements in other videos that we've uploaded on this channel. You will find a link up here and in the description section below. That being said, I think that's all for this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you like the content, to subscribe to the channel, and then if you want to check out our website, you will find our free trainings and our paid courses. You will find all the relevant links in the description section below. And if you have some questions about your training, if you have some topics that you want us to discuss in the next videos, please leave your suggestions in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.